The Ultimate Universe has rebooted, which has led to a new Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, when we last left off, we discovered how he gained his powers and how he gained a new suit. Now it's time to see what's next for Peter Parker. This is Comicstorian. We take comic books and turn them into audio dramas, giving you an audible version of your favorite comic books, a narrative for you to enjoy. Today we're going to be having a look at issue 2 of the Ultimate Spider-Man reboot, and if you enjoy this content, consider supporting us through YouTube memberships or Patreon, where you get early access and exclusives. Now let's get into the second issue of this brand new Ultimate Spider-Man run. May and Richard look down at a picture from the Daily Planet showcasing this new masked man swinging through the city. "Yeah, I don't think it's real," Richard says, shaking his head and explaining to his sister May that it's probably fake. May turns to her father in the kitchen. "Dad, Richard says it isn't real. What do you think?" she asks Peter, who shrugs from his place of washing dishes and asks her what she thinks. "I think this guy is scary and I don't like him," she tells her father, who smiles at his young daughter. "Oh, well, in that case, I trust your brother, kiddo. He's pretty smart," Peter tells her. MJ walks into the kitchen, calling goodbye to her family as she heads for the door. But she stops for a moment to stare at her husband. "Hey, Peter, have you been working out?" And he smiles back. "Maybe just a little," he says with a shrug. Later that night, Peter gets his nightly exercise in, swinging through the city, lifting buses over his head and sticking to walls. Since the spider bit him, his body has gone through amazing changes. The only problem being, he's not good at stopping swinging yet. He swings through the air, and after missing his landing, he slams into a water tower. He gets to his feet, shakes himself free of the impact, and muses over the fact that he can take quite a beating now. Could come in handy, he thinks to himself, as he looks out over the city. Meanwhile, Jameson and Ben Parker are enjoying a good steam, talking about how Wilson Fisk is not only hiding indoors, but also keeping these masked vigilante attacks against him quiet, while distracting the public with a different costumed character. Jameson nods as he looks at his friend. "One is distracting while the other's a story," he muses quietly, and Ben nods, getting to his feet. "Time to get to work," he says as he heads for the door. "We still need a name," Ben calls over his shoulder, and Jameson sighs, getting to his feet, following his friend. "I know, I'm working it out." But Peter is still swinging through the city, flipping through the air, and he finally sticks a landing. "I did it! Nice," he whispers to himself, but he's still trying to decide what to do with these new powers. He's always felt like he was destined for something more. But does that mean that he's really supposed to be a hero? As he begins to ponder this, he turns his head. "If only there was a sign," he whispers to himself, and he stops as he sees a heavily armored man standing in front of a rooftop entrance to a bank. The man lifts his arms and begins to power up the tech gauntlets that he's wearing. "Let me guess, you lost your keys?" Peter asks as he suddenly appears next to the guy, startling him. "Or are you trying to break into the bank below?" Peter continues. The guy turns, looking at Peter's costume, cocking an eyebrow at him. "What are you supposed to be?" he asks, and Peter laughs, pointing out that he was just asking himself the same existential crisis. "And I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be the guy that stops people like you," he finally finishes, and the big man nods, admitting that maybe Peter is right. He's grateful that he stopped him before he could do something wrong. "Wait, seriously?" Peter asks, mystified, and the big man nods. "Yeah, seriously!" He holds up a hand, offering to shake Peter's in gratitude. "Sure, anytime, mister," Peter says as he takes the heavy gauntlet hand. The big man smiles as the gauntlets charge up. "Just call me Shocker!" he shouts as he blasts Peter off of the roof, sending him flying into a dumpster far below. Peter lays there in the muck for a moment. "Ow," he finally says. A couple of hours later, Peter returns home, still clad in his new black suit. He moves through the shadows, pulling out a carton of ice cream from the freezer, and then sits on the couch with a sigh as the suit pulls away from his mouth. "Can't believe I fell for that. Idiot," he says to himself as he takes a bite of ice cream. He then looks up just in time to see his young daughter May standing before him, her eyes wide in shock at the scary man in her house. Tears begin to form as her mouth opens, and she's preparing a scream. But Peter makes the mask fully slide away, revealing his face as he rushes across the room, putting a hand over her mouth. "May, shh, it's me. It's okay. It's Dad," Peter whispers. May looks at her father in shock as he admits to her that he's the scary man. Though he isn't really scary at all, he was just bitten by a special spider that gave him powers. "Oh, you got bit by a magic spider?" May asks in surprise, and Peter pulls his daughter in for a hug. May sniffs at him, pointing out that he smells like garbage. "It's because I was in a dumpster," he tells her as she pulls away, covering her nose. "Mom's gonna be mad," May tells him, and Peter offers her a spot on the couch and the carton of ice cream. "What do you say we wait and tell her and Richard later? For a little while, this will be our little secret." She sits on the couch and begins to eat happily. "I still don't like your costume," she says between bites, and Peter smiles at her. "Maybe we can do something about that too." But with the next day, with the sun rising over the city, Wilson Fisk is sitting in his office. Captain Britain has joined him for an early meeting, one of the secret leaders of the world holding up the article about the new masked hero, questioning why Fisk would run such a story. "I'm currently under siege by some masked vigilantes. It has been very public and very loud. So I'm giving the people a better story to follow," Fisk explains from behind his desk, but Captain Britain shakes his head, explaining that the way the new America works is that Fisk can only keep what he can control. He needs to get his city in order. "And so you get to play the king, Mr. Fisk. For as long as you can hold on to your kingdom," Britain says, motioning to Bullseye, reminding Fisk to use everything at his disposal. The next night, Peter is sitting atop a statue, high above the city. He's texting Mary Jane, explaining that he's going to be home late from work and not to wait up. And then he smiles down at the pictures of the family that she sends him. That's when he hears a crash nearby and his mask slips back over his face. Peter lands on a nearby rooftop to find Shocker stealing more money. "Hey there! Fancy us running into each other again," Peter tells him, and Shocker hits the roof with a blast, but Peter flips away and webs his face. "Who are you?" Shocker snaps as he rips the webbing away, and Peter rushes in, slamming his fist into Shocker's gut, doubling him over. "Oh, come on. We've covered this already. I'm the guy who stops people like you." Shocker throws up his hands, begging Peter to stop his attack, explaining that his wife is sick and he needs the money to pay for her operation. And Peter looks at him for a simple moment. "Is that true?" he asks, but Shocker's gauntlets have powered up and he smiles. "What do you think?" He blasts Peter again, sending him off the rooftop and into a conveniently placed dumpster. Shocker laughs, leaping away into the night, unaware that he's being watched by the Green Goblin. Shocked by his own misfortune, Peter returns home to find a quiet apartment. On the fridge is a drawing of a red and blue spider that May drew for him. Peter smiles down at it. He still isn't sure if he's cut out for the superhero stuff, but he might give it one more try. So far, I am in absolute love with the Ultimate Spider-Man run, and we're going to be covering it every issue that comes out over here at Comicstorian. Make sure you like and subscribe so you know what's going on. Next week, we're going to be bringing you the Gang War event that happened over in Amazing Spider-Man, so you can see what's going on the regular book as well. So make sure you stick around, and I'll see you next time.